Mike Redeema here. Be a warrior, not a warrior. The Lord wanted me to talk today about mistakes in ministry. I haven't actually made a lot of mistakes in ministry, at least I'm aware of. Of course, there's probably a lot of little things here and there, misunderstandings, etc. But I always try to work those out with people when they happen as much as I can. The ones that I've been able to work out with people and resolve, I don't really count them as mistakes. They were just kind of experiences that I needed to grow in ministry and with people. Of course, there were several of those, but there were only a couple of really big ones and a couple of smaller ones that stick with me. The bigger ones, actually, I would actually say they're not so much mistakes. And that's because God actually knew that I was going to do them, and I wasn't aware of what was happening really so much. And so in the end, it was like he worked them into the ministry itself and into my personal growth in him. So in a way, you could say that they were part of the larger plan for my life and the ministry and calling and all of that stuff. They're not really mistakes, but they are worthy of their own video. So I'm going to, partially because of that, how God worked all that out in those instances. So I'm going to do my own videos on those. It was the smaller ones, two in particular, that really stick out to me because they were missed opportunities to minister to people about Jesus Christ. I'll never forget them, and I do have regrets for them. The first one has to do with the ministry I did in Japan. I was in South Korea for a time, and the minister that I was working with, he had a wife, a wonderful woman, and we were going into the winter when they were sending me to Japan to do ministry in Sendai. And she felt led to give me this winter hat, which was ridiculous looking. I'm sorry if you're watching this, the woman in question, but it was a ridiculous looking hat. It had like the pump, the thing on the top, and it was like crocheted, and it had this stuff hanging from it, and it was multicolored. And it's not the kind of hat I would ever wear, but she knew I only wore baseball caps, and so she wanted to give me something, and the Lord led her to get this hat. So instead of taking it with me, I actually put it into like a donation thing that we gave to the homeless people in South Korea at the time. We were working with a homeless shelter in Seoul. And so that was a mistake. That was a big mistake because I went to Japan, and while I was there, I met this wonderful young woman from Portugal who was another volunteer, and she had one of those hats. It was almost exactly the same, except hers was fraying and falling apart. And she needed a new one. And halfway through her time there, she needed to replace it. And I didn't have to replace it. And it could have been a great ministry to give her that hat, to show her that God had already prepared something for her in the weirdest way. So that was a missed opportunity. The other one was when I returned. I went home for a time to help my family with some things, and I returned to South Korea after my trip to Japan, and for another year. And I worked at this school, this private school. And at the end of that ministry, or that period of time in ministry, I had an opportunity at the very last minute, as I was getting my things together and getting ready to go to the bus that would go to the train that would bring me to the airport, etc., and go home, back to the States. I had this last opportunity to witness to this new teacher who was replacing me, and God set it up perfectly. He set it up perfectly, and even had some of the other teachers there that I'd already witnessed to. But I was going to miss my bus, and I literally grabbed my things and I said, "I'm sorry, I have to go." And I took the bus to the bus station, and the next bus, the connecting bus, was like 2 hours late. And I realized that I could have, I had plenty of time, and I should have been listening closer to God and witnessing to that person. I tried to connect with them on Facebook and things like that, but it's not the same. It's not the same. So it's just a couple of examples of things you don't want to do. You want to follow God's leading. You want to see the setup when it happens and recognize it and witness to people and trust God. That's all. Be a warrior, not a warrior.